You know, if you haven't learned by now, I love self-pub. I want to start this video by giving a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for helping me to pursue my passion. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads. And as always, guys, I am Andrew. And today I have got the September Indie Spotlight here for you guys. But before we get into that, make sure you are liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. Also, make sure you're checking the description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon, where I do quarterly giveaways, weekly reading wrap-ups, and early access to my videos, as well as other bookish content. And guys, it is time again to talk about some indie books that I really want to shine a light on here that I read within the last month. Because like I say, I never have enough time to just talk about them all and give them dedicated book reviews. And so this kind of gives me a format that I can talk about these books and hopefully get you interested in reading them as well. Now, one I was provided as an audiobook, and the first one we're going to talk about is Becoming a Druid by my patron, Mike Mullman. He reached out to me, he's like, hey, I narrated this audiobook, and you know, there's a sequel, and there's some novellas and stuff like that. Would you mind giving it a try? And I was like, absolutely, why not? And I gotta say, guys, I really enjoyed Gromy's story. Basically, this is a coming-of-age tale about somebody who is trying to become a druid, where, you know, you've got to be in an apprenticeship, and you've got to pass some tests, and then you've got to be given a quest, and then you can go on to become a druid. Gromy's issue, though, is he is kind of better than his masters, and so he keeps kind of butting heads with them, and he goes through one master, and then he goes through another. He has some rather bad behavior. I believe he hits and knocks out one of his masters, and then the master holds a grudge and stuff like that. And then the last master that we meet before the final master is trying to have Gromy expelled from the Druidic Order. And finally, one of the 9, which is this Council of Druids, takes him under his wing, takes him off, and continues to train him, only to then give him a quest to become a druid against the advice of the council. And so we're following Gromy, who has this huge chip on his shoulder as he is trying to fulfill the quest that he has been given. And while we are dealing with this quest, one of the great things about this story is we watch Gromy grow. And he very much comes across like he doesn't think, he's very young, this is very much becoming of age. And as that happens, he makes mistakes, and then clearly there are points in the story where I'm like, Gromy, this is what's going to happen, you need to stop. And then you see it click in his head after the fact, which is, very much a juvenile thing. And then as the story progresses, you see him make those decisions faster and become more responsible and take on more responsibility and stick to the code of what it means to actually be a druid. And just as we get to the kind of end of the story, we realize that there's conspiracies and there's cliques within the druids and just everything that's going on. This was just a fun read for me. I am looking forward to continuing this series soon, hopefully in November, I think. All right, next up, we have got my friend Andrew D. Meredith's Bonds of Promise. And I'm going to get the series name wrong because I always do. Catalayan Cycle? I always say Catalayan Cycle just because that rolls off my tongue easier. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But this is Bonds of Promise. This is kind of part 1 of a larger story. And I gotta say, guys, this was the first Andrew D. Meredith book that I've read. I've since read another one that we'll talk about later on the channel, on a different day, different video. But guys, I am really enjoying Andrew's works here. There's just something about the way that Andrew D. Meredith writes that, if you kind of start reading a story, this is kind of hard to articulate in the way that I experience Andrew's stories, is I start off reading the stories and I just feel myself sink into that narrative and I just get engrossed. And it's very much a sinking feeling where I feel like I start up kind of on surface level and then I just sink down into that narrative and I just immerse myself, and before I know what's happened, I've read 100 pages and I'm invested into these characters. Anyway, here we follow Henan and Relia Clow, and basically these are 2 enterprising black sentinels. They are basically an order of sort of pseudo mercenaries But they run a caravan route. They have set up this caravan route where they kind of guide merchants through dangerous paths and wildernesses, and, they guard them against greater threats. And it's become very lucrative. It's become very successful. But, along the way, we're just following these people along this caravan route. We deal with a little bit of betrayal. We deal with some shady characters. We deal with some blackmailing. All sorts of stuff that is going on, only to then learn that there is kind of a bigger job that is going to force them to leave their caravan route. And so they then have to go off with a group of Black Sentinels to kind of try and make this big score that will set the Black Sentinels up as a major player within this kingdom. A big order to be, taken very, very seriously. And I just love this story. I'm pretty sure I butchered the characters' names, but regardless, Ralia is a very strong, very well-written female character. Hanan is just very much straightforward. He's the businessman. He's not the fighter. But the way that these two siblings kind of reinforce each other, very much she's brash and she's rash and she drinks a lot and she fights and, he's just hey, you should kind of probably slow down and things of that nature. And she's like, whatever, you're being a wuss and stuff like that. I just like the sibling dynamic that Andrew was able to work within this story. Now, I do know that I believe the second book, Deeper Faith, follows different POVs. So I'm kind of interested to explore that. But man, Bonds of Promise right here by Andrew D. Meredith was a delight to read. Now, next up, I may still actually do a dedicated book review for this one, but I want to mention it here first just because of the move. I'm kind of taking a small hiatus that I'm hoping you guys won't notice. I'll just pop up in a new location. But I want to talk about it here to make sure that I get noticed about it, or to make sure that I kind of talk to you guys about it. This is one that came to my attention from my friend Domnish Books, and this is The Soul's Aspect by Mark Holloway. And guys, this book surprised the crap out of me. When I started reading it, it felt like a very standard tale. Basically, boy discovers he has magic, boy goes off to learn how to use magic, only for then the script to turn, and there's just so many deeper elements within this story. Essentially, we are following Kellum. And Kellum's father basically raises him to be a healer. He's learning the tricks of the trade, and then all of a sudden he realizes that he might be a magic user, so then he has to be sent away to learn the magic. Now, there is a kind of two kingdoms here. One kingdom has conquered the other, and there's a little bit of nationalism, maybe even possibly racism between the two. Basically, if you go to this school, you are not going to be treated the same as everybody else who is from the nation that conquered the other one. I forget the names of the nations. That's not really what stuck in my mind. It was the relationship and the dynamics of how these characters were treated. We get some great found family. We get some great friendships. We get some really dark turns. I must point that out, that literally when this book flips, it flips from kind of the school setting straight into grimdark. It just goes in, it just flips the switch, and it will catch you off guard if you are not prepared for it. And I think that's part of the delight of this book, is it just happens. This book was absolutely delightful. I gave this one 5 stars. I gave this one 4.5 stars, and I gave Mike Mullins Becoming a Druid 4 stars. 3 solid, great indie books that I hope you will check out. But that said, guys, that's really all I've got here for you today. Please let me know in the comments down below. Have you read any great indie books this month, or at least in the month of September? Please let me know. And as always, guys, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.